Carl Murphy was one of Baltimore's foremost journalists and a national pioneer in African-American print journalism. His grandson, Ben Phillips IV, remembers him as being larger than life.
Grandfather always seemed like he was 7 feet tall. Of course, he was barely, I think, 5'3" or 5'4".
The son of Afro founder John Murphy Sr., Carl Murphy joined the family newspaper in 1918 and became editor and publisher when his father passed 4 years later. He was an advocate and crusader for racial equality.
You did not see him out on the forefront making the speeches. His whole role was to make sure that the message got out, that you had a full open airing of the message. And oh, by the way, that also meant covering the other side of the story.
In the early 1920s, Murphy waged a campaign for a first-rate school system in Baltimore City. Later, along with Charles Hamilton Houston and Thurgood Marshall, he succeeded in desegregating University of Maryland Law School in 1935. Here is part of an editorial he wrote after the historic Brown versus Board of Education ruling in 1954.
Nothing in this historic document says that white people have to love colored people. It does not compel white people to entertain colored people in their homes or private clubs or invite them to their churches. All it says is that federal and state schools must be opened to all alike. Anyone who wants to can keep his hates and prejudices, but from now on, he is denied the sanction of law in exercising them in the public schools.
Under his leadership, the Afro grew to 13 cities with 9 national editions, making it the largest African-American newspaper chain.
He gave an opportunity for folks who didn't have an opportunity to get into the journalism business. If you were willing to work, if you were willing to learn, he provided an avenue for you to get the experience. And because of that type of training, you were able to move on to a lot of different areas.
An avid reader and champion of education, he graduated from Howard University in 1911, earned his master's from Harvard in 1913, and then went to study in Germany.
He was professor of German at Howard. He was a scholar. He studied in Germany as part of his craft.
A longtime chairman of the Board of Trustees at Morgan State College, he was known as the chief architect of Morgan's expansion. At the time of Murphy's death in 1967, Morgan was well on its way to becoming a national model in liberal arts education.
So education was very critical to him, and he always was in support of it, particularly in places like Morgan and Coppin.
For a half-century of journalistic excellence, Carl Murphy is posthumously inducted into the Maryland, Delaware, D.C. Press Association's Hall of Fame.